It is a new dawn that smells of fresh possibilities here in Nigeria, especially in the 10th Assembly, with the latest updates about Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan having resumed her seat as Senator for Kogi Central. We're going into the details of that here on Wake Up, as well as much later when we'll have Peter Aka, who has been at the forefront of activism in her support, joining us on the show. My name is Olive Modi, and you're welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I'm Benga Burua. It's midweek. It's the Wednesday edition of Breakfast Central, and boy, we're glad to be here. So many things happened in the last 24 hours, and of course, we wake up to giving you the latest gist information and everything to start your day right. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 3 hours with me and Olive. Yes, Olive, you're looking very regal this morning.
Thank you.
Very
Let me adjust myself.
You're giving your mix between Jackie Onassis and what's her name, Marilyn Monroe. Yes.
No, I see the Marilyn Monroe.
Yes,
because of the hair.
You're elegant.
Director, come on, my clothes up now.
Also, and then your complexion wraps it up, giving a little bit of Mariam Babangida, you know.
Oh, such a beautiful
the height
woman.
of sophistication.
Yes, elegance and classy. Thank you so much.
I need to stop there before my wife. You know, I'm reserving the remaining compliments for my
your wife.
So
in fact, she will have the majority.
Let me not take it.
Tomorrow, I'll
manage this one for now, my dear sister.
Thank you so much. And you know why? It's interesting that you're giving me all these accolades, because today is Wednesday. And I'm the Woman Crush Wednesday on Breakfast Central. But guess who is now the official Woman Crush? It is Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, a woman that has become a symbol for resistance in Nigeria's political space. Recall that she's been through quite the journey of opposition and stumbling blocks right from the inception of her journey. Remember when she had the roads to her polling units broken? She conquered that journey, having defeated the White Lion
from visiting constituents.
That one is still far.
During
so in order, I'm chronicling it. So first of all, during elections, the road leading to where the electorates could vote, the roads were destroyed overnight. But she found a way to surpass that challenge. And then she got into the election, and her victory had to be upheld by the court for her to get into office as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She got into office, then it was the issue of sitting arrangement. Before that the Senate president had made reference to her saying, Senator Natasha Akpoti, this is not a nightclub. And after being dragged on social media, he went and apologized. Then the issue of the sitting arrangement came up, and she refused. Then she went on television and accused the Senate president of sexual harassment, and there began the battle of all battles for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, because not only was she suspended, even her application to have the Senate president investigated, her official complaint, Senator Ned Mason had said the application is dead on arrival due to technical irregularities. It felt like she never even had a chance from the jump, because after making that report to the Senate Ethics and Privileges Committee, they just said dead on arrival. Why? Because she signed it herself. Someone else had to sign it. Being one of the 4 out of 109 women in the Senate, it looked like women were becoming endangered.
And she was alone. She didn't even have the support of a female colleague, so, which makes it very interesting. So it was almost a battle, but she wasn't on her own. She was supported by her constituents and a wide range of Nigerians.
As she was leaving, she said, this injustice will not be sustained.
Yes.
And we thought, okay, this is something that will be sorted out in the court. Eventually, the 6-month
she served the entire
suspension, she ended up serving the entire 6-month suspension. Now, at the expiration of her 6 months, they refused to allow her to resume office.
Another battle.
Office was sealed. Another
challenge.
You know, even after the court had declared her suspension unconstitutional, illegal, and excessive, they still did not return her to office. And when it was time for her to return to the office, they refused for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to
But what's the latest?
However, in recent time,
what's the twist in the drama?
The twist in the story is that yesterday, Peter Aka and some other activists, you could see a video where he carried his mattress and his Ghana must go, and said he has arrived, that they're all going to march to the Senate. And before they will march to the Senate made an official video unveiling the unsealing of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's office. Bear in mind that they have never done this before.
Yes, and they
never
didn't even
done
show us when they were sealing.
Yes, they did not show
the office in the first place.
Fear of the people. But let's take a look at this video, and we'll come back to talk more about it.
Senator Natasha Akpoti's office. I, Alabi, the Deputy Director, Sergeant at Arms, hereby unseal the office. The office is hereby unsealed. Thank you.
The order is.
The office is hereby unsealed, and with that comes the end of the suspension saga, I believe, the symbolic gesture there. But I hope they get thinner to clean and do a proper removal of that sticker from. But that's the least of the issues. But she stooped to conquer. No, she did stoop to conquer.
She stood. To conquer. She stood.
And I mean, she's a warrior woman. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan.
I forgot to mention
Natasha
one of
Akpoti-Uduaghan.
the hurdles she had to deal with, which you had made reference to, was her homecoming. How they had put...
Oh, yes, and then puts obstacles, oxbow lakes, and all sorts of... Yeah.
They said you cannot come in by road and entourage.
All sorts of shackles and manacles.
She flew in.
She came in with a helicopter. So many challenges. A woman king that we celebrate on a Wednesday here.
Absolutely.
Breakfast Central.
So congratulations to the people of Kogi Central.
Exactly.
The fight for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan wasn't necessarily about her, just about her.
It was standing up for democratic principles and institutions.
That's one. It was also standing up for the rights of the people of Kogi Central. Because you cannot say that the people of Kogi Central cannot have representation. The same way that Senator Godswill Akpabio was voted in by his constituency. Well, that's another conversation. It's the same way that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was voted in by her constituents. They were all senators. I mean, no one is more equal than another.
The Senate President is just first among equals.
First among equals, right? So she did complain, saying that there was, she said that the Senate President had treated her like a servant. In her video, a video was made in the office where she said that the Senate President had treated her like a servant, that this was a fight against injustice, that the Senate President is not more of a senator than she is, and that he had treated her with disrespect. And that was just an avenue for her to also thank everyone who had supported her. She thanked the people of Kogi Central. She thanked the media and press, even though she said that there had been some silence in the past few months, and she feels like there was elements of intimidation that had got into the press. So she said she thanked her husband for supporting her, said she wished every wife would get the support from their husbands that she got from her husband. And she just thanked people in general. Okay, but now let's take a look at this video and we'll come back to talk some more.
Also mentioned, I read on the news, online news, that our office has been opened. I even saw a video where the clerk was opening the door to the office himself. So as at this moment, I have not been officially communicated to, because I expect an institution like the National Assembly should have some administrative procedures and processes whereby communications will be written. The last written communication we got from the clerk was that which says that we are not allowed to resume because the case is at the appeal court. He also said, and so I'm still awaiting the letter because it's...
This is record now. You are not to record.
Amazing how much we have had to face and survive in the past 6 months. And most of it happened to the full glare of Nigerians. From the unjust suspension to the recall. We survived the recall. We survived the blockage of roads and waterways into Kogi that we have to fly in through using the helicopter. We survived the blackmail from the so-called woman from the crazy lady on Facebook. Yeah, you know, it's amazing what we had to survive. And I give God Almighty the glory and my deepest appreciation to the good people of Kogi Central, Kogi State, and Nigeria at large. My husband, my love, if you say this, I love you dearly. In short, I pray all men support their wives as much as you have supported me. And my children, thank you for your sacrifices. So In everything, it just shows that sometimes it's good to put the institutions to test. We can't cow down in the face of injustice. No one is more Nigerian than us. Senator Akpoti is not more of a senator than I am. He's not a governor of this place. And he treated me as if I was his servant or I was a domestic staff in his house. It's very unfortunate that at this time, after so many years of democracy, we would have a National Assembly be run by such dictatorship. It's totally unacceptable. As for me, I'm glad to be here. And even though we have been illegally suspended, no day have I hesitated in effectively carrying out my duties as a senator of Kogi Central to the very best of my capacity. I have never, no day went by without me looking out for opportunities, either in terms of bringing infrastructure or projects to my people, and even jobs wherever I could, because I didn't want them to suffer, the neglect and the vacuum that was created by this injustice. So I thank people like Auntie Obi, Priscilla, Sister Aisha, Mama P, Peter The Rock, and many others, Dr. Abiola, Yemi of Enough is Enough, Uncle Femi Falana, men and Nigerians I can't even call. I've read your posts, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, His Excellency Sarah Key, many people who have lent their voices, thank you. And even political parties, Labour Party, ADC, I saw their statements, and my beloved PDP, thank you so much for standing up. Nigerian Bar Association, Nigeria Labour Congress.
Wow, so I guess that wraps it up.
Wraps what up?
The episode, the drama, and all parties can go back to the National Assembly and do their business.
I don't think that it's over.
Why? Because of the court cases?
Yes, there are still court cases. Remember that there was also an allegation that she made about the Senate president, his alleged attempt on her life. And
the suspension part of this episode is over. The
suspension part is hopefully over. We really hope that it's over. But I think the one thing that it has shown is that if you can hold on, you can really fight to the finish. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has become a symbol of resistance, a symbol of a fight for one's right and a fight for a collective right and misrepresentation of justice. If for nothing else, the very least that the Senate should have done would be to show that they had her interest at heart and that they were fair, and that could have been done simply by conducting an investigation and not trying to mar it with unnecessary...
So all of this could have been avoided?
All of this could have been avoided. It simply could have been avoided if they had received a petition from the Senate Ethics and Privileges Committee without making it a big deal, and say, what, we would investigate it. It didn't look like from the jump. Their body language did not look like it was in her favor.
It was almost, it was almost premeditated.
Yes, and nobody's saying that you should totally lean towards what she's saying, but at least give her as much of a fair fighting chance as you have given the Senate
president. And it's just the basic principles of natural justice. But let's take a look at what Nigerians are saying. There's been widespread reactions from all quarters. Let's start by looking at what Odi Simon says. Ahaha, what a joke. I thought they said they would not. It's a shame. The people have spoken, and it has clearly shown that power belongs to the people indeed. When I say power belongs to the people, please, I don't mean PDP, because all of them are the same after all. Okay. Odi Simon, we get you. Dr. Bankole says, a true fighter. Congratulations, and thanks for holding your ground. This is the kind of pushback that Nigerians need to give against the corrupt order. From Dr. Bankole. Joe Johnson, not Joe Hansen, says, that's good, very awful that it even had to last this long. Hope she's ever allowed to, hope she's ever allowed to speak on issues and debates on the floor of the Senate again. I don't understand this tweet by Joe, but let's move on. Rita ENG1234 says, yeah, A very big thank you to everyone who took out time to join in making this a success. Dear Pabio, sir, if you have a case with Senator Natasha Akpoti, please do it without our institutions illegally, please. Okay. So that's all we have.
And these are not all the people. We also have Mrs. Obieze-Kwesili, who had reacted to this. She had gone on X and put out a tweet as well saying that, she said, glad to see Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is in our office. Nigeria Senate, despite the recalcitrance of Senator Gospel Fabio and the Senate to keep breaching the Constitution, breaking the laws of the land and undermining the independence of the judiciary, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan's eternal words that this injustice shall not be sustained has finally come to pass, and for her tenacity, all reasonable Nigerians applaud. All reasonable Nigerians who value their constitutional rights of citizenship applaud her. Life lesson for the wise. No matter how long those who become intoxicated and carried away by power persist in wrongdoing, like everything else in life, a day of reckoning is always by the corner, when that too shall pass. Hopefully, wisdom will prevail from now on. Nigerian Senate, regarding all the subsisting matters that must be resolved on this saga, we watch. And then she's put the emoji of
pen
taking notes. We are watching. And honestly, I would go back again to say that what exactly changed between the past few days when they refused to allow her in, even after she had served the unconstitutional excessive 6-month suspension, because the court had said that it was excessive and they didn't have the power to suspend her for that long.
So I believe some calm minds prevailed and there were talks, not necessarily with her, but seeing that, look, the institution is bigger than these two individuals. There are 109 senators. This is the 10th assembly since our return to democratic order. And letting this drag on unnecessarily and looking at the details on the table, like the merit and the demerits. There were more demerits in letting this drag on after, I mean, it was now being totally unfair because you had given a sentence that she didn't have any right to appeal and she served the entire 6 months punishment for whatever you said she did. And then extending it will be just diabolical. So they thought, you know what, let's let it go. She has served the 6 months. And let's look at the reputation and the integrity of the Nigerian Senate as a whole. So therefore, they did allow her resume without much drama.
Well, anyway, that's that for the story of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. We certainly believe that there will be more development. And we hope that this time it will be in the positive light and that
Absolutely.
the Senate and the senators can do what they were elected to do, represent the will of the people as opposed to making it a measurement of egos clashing. Hope that personal vendetta is set to the side and that legislative functions take the front burner. We'll now move to the next story. The First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, turned 65, and in celebration of her 65th birthday, she was able to raise 20 billion naira for National Library Fund. On the surface, looks very, very patriotic, looks and very noble, philanthropic. However, this has garnered reactions that we did not expect it will garner on social media. A lot of backlash, a lot more backlash than support we've seen. But let's take a look at this video, and after that, we'll head to X to bring out the tweets.
Like to send a birthday card, cakes, flowers, greetings in the newspapers, or gifts, should please send the funds to the designated account for a special project close to my heart, among many others. The completion of the National Library. This will be the best birthday present I could receive. My love for education has informed my decision to dedicate my birthday to this worthy cause. This fund is coordinated by the Federal Ministry of Education under Oluremi at 65 Education Fund, Zenith Bank PLC. Account number is 131-031-4977. Thank you for joining me in this building project. I would like to clear the air about some speculations that maybe this has a political undertone. What is wrong in doing well or trying to build a society. If I could assist the post-war building process in Liberia by donating the Oluremi Tinubu Elementary and Junior Secondary School in Montserrado County in Liberia, what is wrong in drawing attention to some of the areas of need in our beloved nation? So the library was started during Shagari. It was maybe muted then, in 1981. And 2006, it was approved by President Obasanjo, and they started building with a budget of 8.2 billion. And so we have 20 billion, 456 million, 188,924 and 93 kobo. And it's still growing. Trust me, it is still growing.
That's a lot of money. Did you contribute?
Yeah, it's a huge amount. Sorry, I missed the last few digits. The day she was calling out the Zenith Bank account, so apologies.
You couldn't.
Is it too late to contribute my own quota?
It's too late.
I have a few books I would like to donate.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah, that's even better.
It's a very noble gesture.
So what did you genuinely think about this? Did you have an?
I mean, it's a fantastic initiative on paper. It looks good, but the way she went about it, and then there's a Ministry of Education, there's a budget, you can lobby, you could use your influence to make them pass or see that this National Library comes to fruition. And as a private citizen, because she's a private citizen at the end of the day, she's not elected, she shouldn't have gone about it that way. I do understand First Ladies had their pet projects. Mariam Babangida had a better life for rural women and all of that. If it was a personal project, if she was building an Oluremi Tinubu library for the good of humanity or to serve the Nigerian people, it would be better. But this is a national library. It's almost embarrassing for private citizens to now crowdfund fixing a national project. I don't think the situation in Nigeria is that bad that we can't raise enough money to fix our library. What happened is that it wasn't priority, and there was no political will to follow up from where President Obasanjo, she did mention that the idea was started by late President Shagari, and then former President Obasanjo started the building, but because of one reason or the other, they didn't follow through, and the project became a white elephant project. But she's brought a new lease of life into it. But I don't think using a private funds or soliciting for citizens to, join hands to fix this was the right way to go. There are other ways of going about it.
So in a news article dated April 26, 2023, I'm seeing here that Goodluck Opia, Minister of State for Education, briefed journalists after the FEC meeting at the presidential villa. The National Library headquarters has been under construction since 2006, with the project costing billions of naira. Opia said the revised amount for the completion of the project, which is about 32.4 billion naira, has been approved by FEC. Mm-hmm. This was in 2020.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Federal Ministry of Education presented a memo for approval for the revised estimated total cost of the contract for the completion of the construction of the National Library of Nigeria headquarters building complex in Abuja. And the scope of the work for the project includes the construction of a complete structure consisting of 11 floors, 2 basement floors, and 8 upper rooms for housing bookstore, locker rooms, bindery, printing press, restaurants, clinic, creches, changing rooms, exhibition hall, auditorium, cataloging, general reference areas, legal deposits, office for the administration book stacks, reading areas, electronic data, processing center, library research and training center, public convenience. I can keep going on and on. And it was reported here that Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information and Culture, said FEC approved 1.398 billion naira for the completion of this. Okay, no, this is another one. So what happened?
Was the money not disbursed?
Was the money not disbursed? If that amount was approved in billions for the project, what happened? If that library has been in existence since, or construction since 2006, it's 2025, yes. And we're still talking about the National Library. So again, what we're saying, it's philanthropy.
Almost 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, 20 years, no, 19 years. Almost 20 years.
Yes.
So if we're saying that the National Library, setting it up, it's a great idea. I think that Every country, when we go abroad, we go to certain countries and we're visiting their national libraries as part of the tourist attraction, because it's massive, it's big, it's beautiful, it has almost all kinds of books that you're looking for, and it carries the rich history and the culture of the people. And we should have that here in Nigeria as well. Nobody's saying that that's not great. The question is, have there been budgetary allocations for that library before? If yes, were these budgetary allocations approved? And if they were approved, why is the library not yet completed? There are questions that need to be answered in that regard. It is because of the breach of trust. That's why Nigerians would always raise an eyebrow where something that looks good on the face of it, is brought to the public space, because people will then start to look for loopholes and vacuums that this might either be trying to cover. In fact, some people have insisted, if you go on X, part of the cries or the complaints of people is they want to see the names of the actual people that donated. They want to be sure that it's not some form of money laundering exercise.
Then it's not political, and you're not doing it to gain undue political influence or favor.
Exactly.
It's a quid pro quo.
So there is a breach of trust there, and that breach of trust. And people
still went ahead to publish newspaper editorials. Wishing her
of course they would. Birthday, of course they would. We know the year word.
But maybe they did both.
Maybe they did both,
for
right?
library and also.
Okay. Nigerians, of course, have been talking about it, and we'll get to X. But let's first of all see the tweet of the Labour Party presidential candidate at the past elections, His Excellency Peter Obi. He reacted to this, maybe not in the way that you would expect. He says, "We are finished." Wow. That's the first line. And he says, "I join millions of Nigerians in wishing Her Excellency, Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, a happy birthday. May God Almighty, who has been with her all these years, grant her many more healthy, fruitful, and happy years. However, I was struck by irony reading her request that instead of cakes or newspaper adverts, well-wishers should donate toward completing the National Library in Abuja. On the surface, it is noble and selfless, but beneath it lies an indictment of our nation. I recall that as governor of Anambra State, I too urged that money meant for adverts be channeled into meaningful causes, computers for schools and classroom blocks. Such gestures were never meant to replace the government's duty, but to complement it. The state still bore the responsibility of providing those essentials. That is why it's shocking that in our present circumstances, while billions are easily found for jets, yachts, unused mansions, endless trips abroad, and other frivolities, the nation must rely on birthday donations to complete its own national library." That's one part of the tweet. It says, "What kind of country must beg for charity to build the very temple of knowledge? What kind of leaders waste trillions on luxury and vanity, while the National Library, our intellectual furnace, remains abandoned in the capital? Serious nations treat libraries as sacred, but here we reduce them to afterthoughts, begging bowls, or birthday tokens." Mrs. Tinubu was right. Education is the most enduring legacy a nation can give its people. Yet, to know this truth and still prioritize vanity is both shocking and tragic. If Nigeria will rise, it will not be on the wings of jets or the splendor of mansions, but on the strength of minds formed in classrooms and nourished in libraries. Until then, the lament remains true. We are finished.
We are not finished in Jesus' name.
Amen. That was the reaction in a number of people. So we are not finished in Jesus' name. Bayo Onanuga says, First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has raised over 20.5 billion naira from her birthday education fund to complete the National Library Abuja, which was started more than 30 years ago. The Ministry of Education is managing the funds. Donations are still welcome until December, so Benga is not too late. Please pay, and then they put the account number there, and the subject Oluremi at 65 Education
Oliver, I want to
Fund.
make a joint payment. The narration will be Oliver and Benga.
Oliver and Benga.
Breakfast Central
Thank
crew.
you. Now, this is the press release by Sunday Diary. It says, First Lady's National Library Support Project raises 20.7 billion naira. Project not politically motivated, but love motivated. And then he goes back to give the details of this, saying that it's open up until 2025. And then he says, in an emotive and inspiring delivery, she had this to say. In his 1925 essay, The New Frontier, Gebran Khalil Gebran, a Lebanese writer, poet, philosopher, and artist wrote, and I quote, "Are you a politician asking what your country can do for you, or a zealous one asking what you can do for your country? If you are the first, then you are a parasite. If the second, then you are an oasis in a desert." That is why we take our baby steps in well-doing. Before long, things will begin to shape up for our country. We all have to rise up, play our part in the building process. A grain of sand and a drop of water makes a mighty ocean. Well, she's also debunked claims saying that it's not. She said that it's it is not politically motivated. So she's debunked those claims, and she's pointed out that as a teacher, this is her doing her part. But let's now move on to what Nigerians are saying on X about
ordinary
everyday Nigerians.
Nigerians are saying on X. Dre Baba 6114 says, my question is, how does a national project become a personal project? We have seen many times that individuals who want to repair a road and they get stopped for saying it's a national project. What happens to the allocations in the yearly budget towards this project? Good question you raised. Nana Shetima Ambassador says, congratulations to Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu on this remarkable achievement. The Oluremi at 65 Education Fund has made significant progress, raising an impressive 20 billion naira towards completing the National Library project. Let's see if we have another tweet there.
And this one by Da Vinci Obi.
Yeah.
Da Vinci Obi says, okay, we agree. Let's wait for the so-called library and how much books will be in there.
The Wise Continent says, who are the donors? Can we see their tax returns?
Aha.
Wow. This is scrutiny on another level. 20.5 billion for National Library. Waiting do I'm sure it's just joking. Wahab Marshall says, please, Your Excellency, Senator Remi Tinubu, consider the former HQ National Library, Alagomeji, Yaba. No electricity for the past 3
We don't even know if that's months or years.
Internet has been cut off, infrastructure is in a state of destruction. Please help us as your constituency. Constituency is First Lady. She's the mother of our nation. She's not
mother of Alagomeji Yaba.
Constituency. She's not senator representing Alagomeji Yaba. But I do get his point. Like, while we're fixing, or she's brought attention to the National Library and the culture of reading and libraries in general, we need to look at the condition and the state of national libraries all across the Federation. And also, we cannot crowdfund our way into, we can't crowdfund our way into prosperity or fixing projects. The National Stadium Abuja, you need to look at the pitch of the main bowl. It's in a terrible state. The National Stadium in Lagos, Surulere, there's been talks about fixing and renovating it. It used to be a temple for football. It's in a state of, even cows cannot graze there. It's in a terrible state of disrepair. So we need to look at our infrastructure projects. And now that a new tax regime is coming on board and we're making money we're saving forex and we're going to have more money in the revenue purse of the federal government, it would be nice to look at some of these national projects and monuments and, fix them and not wait for politically exposed person to celebrate their birthday and have to crowdfund it, like His Excellency Peter Obi said. That is an indictment on our nation, and therein lies the embarrassment that he has to take a private individual's birthday to draw attention to some of those things. Why do you draw billions in budgetary allocations? Why do you have ministers? Why do you have directors in some of these ministries in the first place? So congratulations to the First Lady and all Nigerians that contributed and will contribute to that project. Okay,
now let's move away from the update with the First Lady to now talk about something that happened in Lagos, Nigeria, yesterday, the 23rd of September. Now, there were rumors about yesterday scheduled to be the date for rapture. Interestingly, the only kind of rapture that we saw yesterday was the rapture of floods.
Wow, it was terrible. It was almost similar to, I don't know, this will come a close second to that mother of all traffics that you suffered earlier this year with Joe, I think around March.
Yesterday was terrible, particularly for those who live on the island. The rains were intense, people's houses were flooded, people's cars were flooded. The flood got into people's cars. And yet again, we were reminded of the fact that Lagos is a coastal city. Now, if you're looking at this place, this is somewhere in Ikate. Wow. This is on the road towards Meadow Hall. This is that Meadow Hall address towards the right. And this is how high the floods got. They were so high that even with SUVs, you know, people with SUVs had their cars flooded. In my estate, there were people.
How did you get home?
So I had gotten home earlier, as soon
before
as
the rain
before the rain started. Unfortunately, my cousin decided to go out with the car, and then got stuck in traffic and in flood. So this was just a tip of the iceberg. This is the express, and imagine what. Now look at that.
So what really happened yesterday? Because the rain didn't fall for a long time, for hours.
On the mainland, it did not fall
on the mainland,
for a long time. On the island, it was a heavy downpour. Because I was surprised to hear from people on the mainland. I had a friend in Agege who said, oh, he was going to Ikoton. I said, under this rain, he said, no, it's just dark clouds here. I said, it's been flooding. It's been raining heavily here. And people had to cancel and reschedule appointments. People had to evacuate their houses yesterday. I
mean, this is the Lekki-Epe Expressway.
This is express.
This is exactly express. And you feel they have there are large drainage channels and systems there, but they were simply overwhelmed. And I wonder what is really going on, because this occurrence has become more frequent. And I really feel for loss of time, the damage to property, the mechanics will be smiling to the bank. I mean, insurance companies will be paying out claims in millions. It's really terrible because, I mean, it's a natural occurrence. It's normal for rain to fall, but I can imagine the anxiety and the psychological trauma residents of these areas will feel anytime there's a dark cloud. And the residents are in their millions. It's a really sad. I mean, this is House on the Rock Church in Elegushi axis, and House on the Rock Church was also plagued by water. Just look at the volume.
Look at how high it is. There were also reports of people being swept away in the floods. There was a certain video that we had seen of someone being thrown a lifeline. And I cannot confirm if this happened yesterday. I'm not sure the person, or if it's a recent video. Or if it's a recent video, we cannot confirm this. However, we just highlight these floods because, again, they bring up several conversations. In fairness to Nimet did warn about floods happening. In fact, they warned about heavy downpour of rain from Monday through Wednesday. We took that in the papers on Monday. So we've
been emphasizing it.
Yes, we experienced a heavy downpour on Monday and on Tuesday, and chances that there might be a heavy downpour today, these chances are very high. However, we must look at the factors that make it very intense. The impact of these floods and these flash floods when it rains. They would often say there's a tidal lockup, which prevents is the Atlantic sort of preventing like the rains and the storms. Oh my God, look at the faces of those people. Really, really sad. Well, so the tidal lockup is where they say high tides from the Atlantic Ocean and Lagos Lagoon block off storm water from draining out. And when this happens, drainage outlets are temporarily prevented from discharging. Rainwater backs up in low-lying areas. So tidal lockup is one of the reasons they will claim. We can't also deny the fact that there's also a drainage challenge, a structural
infrastructure defect
that is existent with bad roads combined with blocked drainages.
And also the people's contributory factor.
Citizens have a role to play. Citizens have a role to play in terms of being responsible with how we dispose of our garbage. Government does also have a role to play to ensure that a city, an urban city like Lagos, is properly planned, infrastructurally set up in a way to combat the effect of this. They're reclaiming lands from the sea. Every day, they're dredging one land. Look at what's happening with the Eco-Atlantic, it's not Eco-Atlantic, what's that place?
Orange Island.
No, the one that spans all the way to Calabar.
Lagos, Calabar.
Coastal Highway, thank you very much. We're reclaiming lands from the sea. These things have side effects. There have been reports about Lagos, the potential of Lagos being under the sea in a couple of years. And these predictions haven't just been for Lagos, but the question is, what proactive measures
But Lagos will tell you that the proactive measures they're taking is building, the Eco-Atlantic project, for example, the whole of Ahmadu Bello Way used to flood because of rising sea levels and tidal waves. But now they have what they call the Great Wall of Lagos, those stones, and the Lagos Calabar Highway is also a technological barrier to prevent flooding of coastal areas. So we need to look at the environmental access environmental impact reports and also what scientists. You're not going to listen to politicians. You need to listen to you need to hear the science of it. You need to listen to oceanographers and marine engineers to tell us what's really going on with the water systems. And then the blockage, you said, the release of the storm water and also the rising tide of the Lagos Lagoon, preventing it from discharging. I mean, that's just, okay, it might be a problem. What are they doing about it? Because we're been blessed with immense knowledge and technology to overcome basically anything that we're faced with, and that's the beauty of humanity.
And then there's also the other
and there are
parts.
other countries that have gone through, Indonesia, Malaysia, that have gone through some of these challenges. What is the plan for the future? Because the state will keep expanding, and people can't be repairing cars every day. And some of these repairs are very. Someone bought a Japanese car.
Mercedes.
Yeah, a friend had a steering rack damage because he was in flood water last year. It cost him more than ₦1 million to fix.
I mean, and the flip side to it would also be when we hear announcements of, move away from the lowlands to the highlands. Lagos is very populated. Some people
even understand the geography.
They even understand that. And what is our emergency response when there is chaos like this? Because regardless of how much preparation you've made, there will still be emergency situations. So what are also our emergency response in floods and also situations like this?
Warnings like a day before, so people can plan out their day if you're going to work from home.
I did say that
because a lot of them.
NIMED puts out posts, and they did in the newspaper.
But we need Lagos State to step up.
So maybe what would be great would
citizens.
be in the days when we know that we're expected to see heavy flash floods like this. It would be great to grant interviews or make videos that go on social media.
And NIMED, in fairness to them, they didn't actually mention Lagos as one of the states under threat. In the last
month, in August, they warned.
In August?
Yes, they mentioned parts of Lekki, Ikorodu.
Okay.
There are some parts, I know I did see a report like that in August. But that's all that we have. And I mean, just to say that to those who have been immensely affected by the flood, we hope that the loss hasn't been too dire and that you can find a way to recover what has been lost in the flood. And Lagos State, the onus is on you to protect your citizens. That's all that we have this morning. Let's share with you our top stories on Breakfast Central. The top stories this morning: Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan resumes 6 months after suspension from office. And the United States of America vows visa ban for corrupt Nigerian officials. Constitutional review dominates plenary ahead of resumption of Senate. Federal government reports growth in revenue, Nigeria fiscal performance. This is, of course, the FIRS press briefing. We'll review the newspaper front pages with you and with our analysts. Stay with us for all these and more.
The United States has issued a stern warning. Corrupt Nigerian officials may face visa bans. No more shopping sprees in New York or hush-hush meetings in DC. If you're corrupt, you're not welcome. The United States mission in Nigeria, recent post on a social media platform, made it clear fighting corruption knows no borders. Even high-ranking officials won't be spared. This isn't just rhetoric. It's a continuation of a policy that has previously targeted politicians accused of undermining election and democratic processes. Now, join us this morning at Breakfast Central for this discussion as the head of Mission Leadership and Accountability Initiative, Prince Henry Shield Nwazuru Ahu. A warm welcome to you, Prince. Thank you for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
Now, Prince, the U.S. says corruption will not go unpunished, even for high-profile individuals. But here at home, we see governors allegedly spending billions on vanity projects. What does this really say and mean for our country, that it has to take a foreign entity, a foreign country, to say, look, we won't tolerate corruption, or we won't grant visas to corrupt officials?
Thank you so much. Basically, I think it's a very good development.
if it is implemented. We've had to do a whole lot of petitions in the past, especially during the last general elections, where we wrote to different diplomatic missions in Nigeria, naming those who were involved in election malpractices, manipulations, and rigging, and appealing that not only them, but their whole families should have their visas revoked so that they stay in the country and face the consequences of their actions. The diplomatic development between countries requires subtlety, requires objectivity and the rest. It is the right of any nation to decide who to grant their visas to and who not to. The statement by the U.S. mission in Nigeria is a welcome development. We pursued these, we pursued a whole lot of cases in this regard for several years. I remember when we wrote about some judges, some senators, a few of these are governors and the rest. People who think they are above the law in Nigeria and that the law cannot deal with them, we tend to externalize the battle to also make the law deal with them from outside the country. If you undermine the will of the people, if you desecrate the sanctity of the electoral laws and the rest, and now the U.S. Embassy has said, if you're found to be corrupt, your visas will be revoked. And we want to see the implementations of this, because if once we see the implementation, then we will be able to write. But for now, we are commending them. But once we see implementation, when we see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people visas have been revoked, we will be able to write to the embassy to thank them, acknowledge their effort in helping Nigeria to fight this corruption that has become the bane of our society. It's a beautiful development, but for now, I wouldn't say we are cautiously optimistic, but what I would say is we are following it day after day to see those who will actually be caught up, because believe me, this will affect a whole lot of our politicians who believe that they are above the law and they are above whatever thing or campaigns we have in Nigeria. You see that, I'll give an example. Every month, once monies drop to the state, you see some of our governors immediately they've jetted out of the country for whatever reasons they might think or they claim. But we all have an idea what they're actually doing once they leave the country. Immediately, FAC releases a disbursement to the state. We need to get to the point where this is a very good step. It's the first step. It's not the only step. Other things are needed. Citizens engagement, citizens education. We need to also get involved in making sure that the money that belongs to the people, these resources are properly and judiciously deployed for the betterment of the people. Few days ago, I think it was our policemen or our teacher or our doctors rather, sorry please. It was our doctors who were engaging on a nationwide strike, right? The same day, we saw governors whose children were graduating from schools abroad. So you look at the paradox, you look at it like, okay, this is a country that can't pay its own doctors. But this is the same country where government officials are sending their wards, their families, everybody abroad to go and school. We need to cut down these differentials. It is too much. We cannot, as a nation, not be able to pay doctors. It is a sin. It is despicable. It is irritating. Doctors who take care of people's health, doctors who are caregivers, suddenly are going on strike. Teachers have gone on strike. Every sector have people who are lecturers are going on strike. It is terrible. And why? You cannot say that Nigeria does not have enough resources to take care of these basic things. The issue is that the politicians are diverting this money from what they are meant for to their own personal use, and most of the times we find these monies abroad. So we thank the U.S. government, we thank the U.S. mission in Nigeria. We are grateful. Please let everyone support this cause. Let other missions also join. We want to see the UK High Commission, want to see Canada, want to see even China, want to see everybody come on board that, okay, once you are identified as a thief, a corrupt official in this country called Nigeria, you will not have visa to go anywhere. You will stay in this country so that whatever happens, you will also be here to face the music of your actions. Thank you.
Now, Honorable Shield, some have argued that how effective could this visa bans even be, that the United States is just one of over 250 countries in the world, that these politicians will simply reroute their trips to London, Dubai, or Singapore. How do you respond to this? How effective of a deterrent is this?
No. For the U.S. to lead this charge, it's a beautiful development. If it was smaller country, okay, maybe all these small countries that did this, and the US, they would just tell you, who is going to this country? I'll go to America, I'll go to Canada, I'll go to the UK, I'll go to this place. But for the US itself to be because all politicians in Nigeria love to go to America. Forget what someone said recently on TV. All of them love to go to the US, all of them. So if the US is leading it, we will also appeal to the diplomatic community in Nigeria to please look in this direction. It is becoming unbearable. Corruption is the reason we don't have drugs in our hospitals. Corruption is the reason why teachers are not properly paid. Corruption is the reason why, the country is the way it is. There's nothing else. The same oil that we have, the same crude that we have is what Dubai has, is what other countries, Saudi Arabia, this is what they have, and they are utilizing their resources for the people. You can look at their countries and then compare to us. We are living in a country where you cannot travel 100 or 200 or 300 kilometers without, 100 kilometers without, what is 100 kilometers? You cannot even travel 10, 20 kilometers without having to enter either potholes or bad roads or whatever. We do not have any. I'm even surprised that we have light this morning. For the past 6-7 months, we've had issues with the AEDC. It's terrible. Basic things of life. Drugs in our hospitals, children being able to go to school, transportation that is affordable to all workers and people who want to move around. Nobody is asking for big, mighty things, just the little ones. So we are appealing to all, and maybe now our future letters wouldn't be to US, UK, and the rest. Maybe when we are doing more letters now, reporting corrupt officials, we will now be able to go to the community as itself, the diplomatic community in Nigeria will be able to write them and beg them, let everyone come, because this is for the good of the nation. People who move illicit funds to your country, they are not helping your country, they are impoverishing ours while giving themselves 5-star lives abroad. Look at the country, look at the citizens of Nigeria. Do we look like an oil-producing nation citizens? No, we don't. We don't live it, we don't experience it. There are people that were born in Nigeria maybe 50 years ago, 40 years ago or so. Up to today, they've not experienced what good governance should mean. They've not experienced what life should be. We are used to up NEPA, we are used to the bad roads, we are used to a country that malfunctions by the second. So if the US has started, we are grateful. The UK, we are also hoping that they will come on board. We are hoping that every diplomatic mission in Nigeria will be able to join. That is how and when it will become extremely effective. But for now, we thank the US for even going ahead with this. We want to see the implementation, not just the announcement, and we're very grateful. Hopefully with time, other missions will also join, and we will have our politicians sitting down here with us from January to December. Let us face the consequences of their actions. If you steal money for roads and there's no road to your place, face it. If you steal money for schools and your children in your community cannot go to school, sit down and face it. If there are no drugs in the hospitals in your community, sit down. Let us know that you that caused it, you are also sitting down here to enjoy the pain and the repercussions of your actions with us.
Okay. I hear when you say that we're grateful that the US is doing this and you want the UK to come on board. But isn't it concerning that we're waiting until foreign governments hold Nigerian officials to account? What's wrong with our own internal mechanism for justice? And how do we ensure that we on our own can hold our people? America is not expecting Nigeria to hold their president to account. Why did we have to get to this point where we are expecting, hoping, praying, and rejoicing that America is holding Nigerian government to account? Why can't we hold our own to account?
Thank you. Beautiful question. In fact, very extremely interesting question. Number one is that how many American government officials do you see coming to Nigeria to come and build houses for their families, buy houses, and even holiday vacation here? You rarely find them. You know why? Because the country is not conducive for such an experiment. Then number two, the system that we operate, we have not been able to divorce our institutions from our politics. So you find politicians still being able to prevail or rather influence decisions of certain institutions that should be independent. A few days ago when my friend Omoyele Sowore wrote to the Attorney General of Florida with respect to the Minister of the FCT, you know, I had people who called me, are you sure this thing was going to work? I had even last night I had discussion with a few of my friends, and I told them, listen, America is America. This is a society where institutions are divorced, they are separated from politicians. So you cannot find a politician, a governor now saying, Attorney General or this one, you cannot do this. It's rare, because if you do that, you're putting yourself up for whatever backlash that comes. And you know, they have effective systems that work in Nigeria. We are still grappling. Yes, there are one or two who try their best, who are still trying a lot to be able to say, okay, let's sanitize the system. But see, we have to be realistic and truthful to ourselves. As long as politicians keep meddling in the affairs of our anti-graft agencies, of our security agencies, as long as they keep playing politics, you know, appointing their cronies, appointing their godchildren or whatever, it will be very difficult to have an institution that can even challenge the person who appointed them. You understand? And say, oh, this petition has been made against you, or oh, it doesn't matter that you're a member of the ruling party, there are petitions against you, we have evidences of the crimes you've committed. What we've been seeing for a while has been a situation where whoever is not in the good books of the government is the person who is being invited, who is being probed, who is being prosecuted. These are not the way that institutions, especially anti-graft institutions, should function. Unfortunately, I will not blame the current operators or the people there, but unfortunately, our system is such that if you do not play to the role or to the tune of those who appointed you, they will remove you, and there is no public to defend you. There is no system to protect you from such influence. You understand what I'm saying? Our systems are not matured to that level. We need a situation where a policeman can arrest a local government chairman, an honorable member, a senator, without fearing that, oh, my oga will call me, somebody will call me, I will receive a call from Abuja that I cannot do. You understand what I'm saying? Because look at it. Most of these guys who actually steal these funds, they have security men guiding them. What are the roles of these security men? Some of them even help them to move these Ghana must goes. Some of them help them to do all this, because what? If they do not do it and they fight against it, number one is the system might sack them, the system might remove them, and then you see a situation where they are left vulnerable. No protection, no. So we need to build institutions, and until we have institutions that are able to challenge the appointers, the politicians and the rest.
Okay.
We will keep playing. See, we've tried this long and long. We have tried it a whole lot of times. It's not going to work until something like EFCC has a chairman who is ready to look into the ruling party and tell the ruling party, we are probing you for so and so and so, and get them arrested. It can't happen for now, because why? Everything about our system now is about patronage. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, I'm the appointer. That's the reason why you will have in Kaduna, El-Rufai was having a meeting and thugs went and invaded the place. And rather than invite the people who did this, El-Rufai was summoned to come. You understand? Someone's meeting was disrupted. Rather than arrest the culprit, they are, because what? El-Rufai is in the opposition and the ruling whatever. Do you understand? We have not been able to remove politics from our institutions. The influence of politicians on our institutions is affecting the credibility and their own efficiency to be able to carry out their duties dutifully and faithfully. I think that's just the reason. So for now,
thank you so much.
Those countries who have this, let us thank them, because you can't go and influence the actions.
All right,
Prince Wazua with Wike now.
Right.
You can.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We unfortunately have to interrupt because we have another conversation that needs to begin right away. But Prince Henry Shield Nwazurahu, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I believe it's Nwazurahu.
God will bless you for correcting it. I wanted to say, what is Nwazuragu? I don't know who is I don't know who is deliberately messing with my son.
No,
Please don't do that too.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
All right, let's quickly share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Coming up next, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan presumes 6 months after suspension from the 10th Assembly. Women groups rally for reserved seats bill and inclusion in governance. That is one of our conversations this morning. Please stay with us.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, our focus is on one of the most politically charged stories out of Nigeria's National Assembly. After 6 months of suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has officially resumed legislative duties. Let's rewind. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, representing Kogi Central, was suspended in March 2025 after protesting the reassignment of a Senate seat by President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio.
She called the move unjust, and what followed was a 6-month political standoff, legal battles, and what she describes as blackmail and intimidation. Now, her office has been unsealed. She's back in the Red Chamber, and she's not holding back. She says, and I quote, "I owe no apology to anybody for the wrong done to me." Joining us for these discussions are gender and politics researcher Chiamaka Okafor, and much later would have Peter Aka joining us. He's a human rights activist that has followed this story closely. Good morning, and thank you very much, Chiamaka, for joining us this morning. The reinstatement or the return of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to her office as a senator representing Kogi Central, what would you say that this means to you?
Good morning, Olive, and thank you for having me on the show this morning. So the return of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is a show of resilience for me, first of all, and also a very welcome development. I mean, justice can be delayed, but can be denied. Although the conditions around the reopening of her office is not exactly clear, because as at the last time I checked to see if NAS had put out any information or statement about why her office was opened, after a few days of saying you are not allowed to resume here, and then we find that they are opening her office. First of all, like I said, a show of resilience, a welcome development, and we our fingers crossed looking at the coming days and what NAS is going to say. But just to say that her statement about saying I won't offer an apology, or she doesn't have any words for apology, is really strong, and I admire that a lot.
Now, we've seen the back and forth that happened between the leadership of the Senate and Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan all through the 6 months court cases here and there. Do you think a resumption has put an end to this episode and all parties can go about their business, or there's still issues that needs to be ironed out?
Of course, as we can see, there's still issues that need to be ironed out, and this is beyond, a NAS versus Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan issue. Perhaps, like a lot of us have observed, this is a personal issue between the Senate President and the Senator representing Kogi Central. So beyond the resumption and opening of office, we will still see some heated moments between them in the chambers, for example, and perhaps things like, changing committees and all of the things we've seen, the whole back and forth. And mind you, there's still a case in courts, which NAS held on to a few days ago, saying this is why you cannot resume until perhaps pressure was mounted on them to say, in this case, the issue of her suspension, she's stayed through this suspension and it's elapsed. So you can't hold on to that as a reason for her not to resume her activities as a serving senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So yes, of course, we'll see in the coming days how things will unfold. But one thing I know is that the issues between the senator and the Senate president is not done yet. And mind you, there's a case of sexual harassment that has never been addressed. And I'm sure that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan will bring that up again, because this is a concrete issue and should be addressed. It shouldn't be swept under the carpet. And if you do that, then you ask questions. If such a gross allegation or accusation made by a senator of the Federal Republic against another senator who is the Senate president is ignored and treated as if it never existed in the first place, what will happen to young girls, younger women aspiring to political positions who have to experience this? Where do they go for recourse or for justice? So the issues, like Gen Z say, is plenty, and we're yet to see them.
When we look at what has happened to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, being one of 4 female senators out of 109 senators in the 10th Assembly, it then brings again conversations about 35% affirmative action and the role of female representation in politics. What do you perceive might be how this will impact women's willingness to show up and be involved in the process, especially when some would raise the fact that the other female senators in the House did not throw their weight behind Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan?
I mean, this is a systemic problem we've seen over time. And you just said there are only 4 women out of 109 senators in the Senate. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. There are 469 seats at the National Assembly, and there are just 20 women out of 469. That tells a deeper, bigger, and even an indicting story on what our representative democracy looks like. How that impacts women is that, first of all, a very simple example to give would be when you look at your screen or you look at this data and you don't see anyone who looks like you, you automatically tell yourself, this is not a place for me. And that's what it does to younger girls, for example, because children, for example, the things they see on their screens, on TV, on social media, for example, are the kind of things they think they can do. And so if as a child, a girl child, I'm looking at television and all the pictures of political leaders I'm seeing are men, I automatically start to tell myself that women are not supposed to be here. That's what it does to young girls, for example. And what does it do to women, young ladies aspiring to political position, and how we've seen all this thing unfold, that she didn't get support from other females in the House? It's a culture of silence that we have been socialized into. So don't challenge men, don't get into certain conversations. Politics is not exactly for women. So if you come into politics, you have to be subservient, you have to behave in a certain way. And like the senator from, I think, East Africa, the parliamentarian from East Africa, who says good girls get the corner office. And that's what happens. You're boxed into a corner. You can't do anything outside what you are permitted to do by the powers that be. This is discouraging for any democracy, especially ours, as young as our democracy is, and all the potentials it has. Women are about 50% of the Nigerian population, and perhaps even more of the voting population, and yet it's not seen in the numbers, it's not seen in the representation. So how do you then encourage more people to come into politics? How do we achieve 35% of the affirmative action? How does Nigeria get political parity. The World Economic Forum Gender Gap Report shows that it will take another 123 years to achieve gender parity, but also another 162 years to achieve political parity. And in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria has experienced the most regression when it comes to political representation. This tells a lot of story. According to Invictus Africa's report for 2024, Nigeria ranks 24 out of 24 countries that it looked at. Our representation is poor, it's terrible for want of a better word, and it doesn't reflect the realities. So if you don't know Nigeria and you're trying to tell Nigeria from its representation, are there only 20 women? So out of 469 and there are 20, does it say that we have fewer women in Nigeria than we have men? That's not the truth. So in a nutshell, it tells younger people that this is not a space for you, do not come in.
Now, Chiamaka, let's track back a bit and look at the genesis and how all of this played out. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is not the first senator to be suspended from the National Assembly, but she has a record for being the senator that spent the longest time in suspension. There's been issues with Senator Dino Melaye, Senator Ovie Magege, and they had their way of resolving these issues. It didn't drag for this long. Do you think her gender, being a woman, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan's gender, played a role in the way this has panned out? What does her ordeal reveal about the space for outspoken female politicians in Nigeria?
You said it yourself, definitely. The playing field is not equal for male and female or for men and women here. I mean, it's perhaps the same thing everywhere, but it's even worse here, you know. So you look at the cases of Senator Alain Dume, Senator Omar Gikovi, in the time they were suspended, and how this was, you know, resolved in less than 3 weeks. They were suspended for 90 days, but they went to court and the court nullified their suspension. And in the case of Senator Omwagige, the court said it was constitutionally defective. And even the government at the time was asking the court to declare his suspension unlawful. Are we seeing that today? We all know the answer. In the case of Senator Ali Ndume, the court also declared it illegal, unlawful, and unconstitutional. We haven't seen these terms being used in the case of Senator Natasha. The best we've seen is the court saying it's excessive and then turning down to advice, not order, that, you know, the Senate reconsiders its decision on suspending Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. This is double standards at its best. It's the same court, it's the same judicial system that people run to for succor. And then a female senator is running to the court to say XYZ, and the court isn't doing the same thing it did when her male colleagues had the same issue and ran to court. It was resolved very quickly, but in her case, we're not seeing the same thing. If anything, we're seeing a shared disrespect of the court. Now, remember that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan initially approached the court when she sensed that there was going to be a suspension and prayed the court to hold or order the Senate not to suspend her. What happened to that order even after it was given? The Senate disregarded that order. What do we call that? Contempt of court? No. And then we saw that happen. And even against the fact that, okay, I mean, the judge suspended and said she's advising. But this has been declared excessive. If we were people who respected our judicial system and wanted it to get better, once the court has made the decision, we should have gotten in, right? And say, okay, let's settle this amicably. Let's do this way. We can't suspend a senator. And this is literally you saying, people of Kogi Central, you do not deserve representation and you can't have it. So clearly, the playing field is not leveled. It's different treatment for men and women. And I guess women have to get hit harder than their male counterpart. The reasons best known to the system, but this is systemic segregation, systemic sexism. Just give it whatever name, this is what it is. But one thing that is clear is that this is systemic. And we've seen a trend in all of these suspensions, if I may mention, that once you speak against the powers that be, in the case of Aline Dume, Omar Gege, and Akpoti-Uduaghan, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, we see that they have faced backlash because they challenged the system. Aline Dume was suspended for a statement he made about looking at allegation of misappropriation to the leadership of the Senate at the time.
Right.
Omar Gege too was had the same issue because he said the Senate was plotting to unseat the president at the time. And he brought his colleagues into disrepute. All of these things are trying to see that once you decide to be strong and have opinions that are different from the general opinions, you become a target.
All right.
This is what we're seeing.
We unfortunately, I mean, this is still an ongoing story. It feels like one leg of the battle has been won. But let's now bring in another person who was there yesterday to witness this. He's been at the forefront of championing for the return of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. I'm talking about Peter Aka. Good morning, Peter. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
I guess it's safe to say congratulations. All your effort has paid off. We saw you arriving in Abuja with your mattress and your Ghana must go back, saying, you know, we sleep here today if nothing happens. So detail, chronicle for us what the journey was like, especially what happened yesterday leading up until the unsealing of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's office.
Olive, let me begin by saying it is unfortunate that Nigeria is where it is today. That for 6 months, a National Assembly that should be the symbol of democracy, that should uphold the rule of law, has become an institution that has been dragged into controversies of high-handedness, legislative recklessness, and instead of dealing with issues that are very, very pertinent to Nigerians, issues of insecurity, where bandits are holding press conferences in Katsina, of hunger and inflation, this 10th National Assembly will go home with the reward or the achievement of being probably the most unproductive National Assembly in the history of Parliament, with just only the capacity to approve loans and loans without investigation for the president while fighting political enemies. The entire story of Senator Natasha has been a tragedy from the beginning. It is unfortunate that out of a Senate of 109 senators, only 4 women and one of them has been made to undergo this level of persecution and gross violations of a person's rights. So, of course, we were supposed to, that Senator Natasha's suspension had ended as at the beginning of September, and she wrote a letter in August duly informing the National Assembly that with the definite expiration of the 6 months, suspension, she is expected, according to Senate resolutions and even according to law, to resume her job because the suspension was not indefinite, it was for 6 months. So whatever that was in court will be an academic exercise and she will have to resume. The clerk of the House wrote a letter dated on the 4th of September responding to Senator Natasha, telling her that he had instructions not to unseal her office and that until the Senate reaches a resolution, because the issue she's talking about is still pending in a court. The same court which the Senate flouted its orders in the first place, where the court had even decided that I find this, a suspension excessive and overreaching, and it does not permit the senator, it makes her breach the provisions of Section 63 of the Constitution. And then suddenly, when the National Assembly saw that Nigerians were mobilizing, Nigerians were prepared to ensure, the people of Kogi Central and Nigerians were prepared to ensure that their senator, the distinguished Senator Natasha, must resume office and plenary. The Senate decided to hurry and move forward, and by 2 a.m. midnight, the clerk of the Senate decided to begin to send messages saying that I now have the instruction to unseal your office. And for the first time in the history of the Senate, unsealing of a suspended senator's office was done on camera, recorded and given to bloggers to post. This is where Nigeria is today. That is the precedence that was set. And so we went there. And then suddenly by midnight, there was a message to move the resumption of the Senate from yesterday to the 7th of October. And guess who signed that motion to move it? It is the chief of staff to the Senate president and not the clerk of the House. Olive, across board, it has been a violation of rights. It has been a complete show of shame. But we are glad that we are where we are because the people of Kogi Central and Nigerians have resolved that this injustice will not be sustained. And come 7th of October, which the Senate has moved to, Senator Natasha will not work alone. And we must ensure that there are no more calisthenics or theatrics to this. The resumption will be without any further conditions Her 6-month suspension is ended. She's a distinguished senator. She must begin to resume and work for the people of Kogi Central. And that is how we got to where we went to yesterday.
To look at, holistically looking at, but before I ask my question, Peter, we have to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Do stay with us.
Well, the obvious answers are a denial of rights to representation and to governance under a so-called democracy. But unfortunately, it has become almost the hallmark of what this current government, both from the executive and legislative arms, will be remembered for. Recall that just a few days ago, there have also been a resumption of sitting governor in Rivers State, who was also suspended, a democratically elected governor suspended by the president. So while there is executive rascality, there is legislative rascality. And in the case of the Rivers State governor, for 61 days or 6 months, the Supreme Court was unable to hear a suit that was taken there by the PDP governors. But of course, they reached an alleged peace deal that has seen the governor come back. But we are grateful to Senator Natasha and to the resolve that he has, that it doesn't matter the pressure you are put under, you must stand for what is right and just and let the system be put on trial. For 6 months, the people of Kogi Central have not had their senator. Nobody knows exactly what is being inserted in the budget or taken out as it reflects or regards to their constituency projects and what the constituents are supposed to get directly from the National Assembly. So in terms of human capacity development, in terms of representation in government, the same way the people of Rivers State were shortchanged, the same way the people of Kogi Central are shortchanged. And this is going on. This brazen attack on democracy is going on with the full watchful eyes of the judiciary and is carried out by an institution that is supposed to be a body of lawmakers who should be ready to uphold the law and entrench a culture of due process and the rule of law. So across board, it is unfortunate, it is reprehensible.
There seems to have been a disconnection there with the internet connection with Peter Aka. Chiamaka, I'll bring you in. What do you think may have changed between the last time when Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan had sent in a notice that she was about to resume and when they clearly, of course, prevented her from resumption? And yesterday, what do you think has changed between this time frame? And that's the question I'm hoping Peter can also help give some clarity to, seeing as he's been directly involved. Well, let's hear from you.
I mean, this is a question I was asking myself yesterday, and hearing Peter say that the instruction to open her office came at 2 a.m., it's a sign that there was pepper or pressure somewhere coming. And when I read the NBA's statement on preventing her from resumption, when she wrote her letter, I think on September 4th, it was applaudable for the NBA to make that statement to say, do not do this, because it's a clear, I mean, you see a consistent misinterpretation of the laws of the country and the Constitution. So what may have happened between that space is still unclear to me, but one thing I know is that there was pressure somewhere for the Senate to reopen her office, because it's clear that you cannot hold on to a sub judice case as a reason for her not to resume, because the suspension you sent her on had expired. So what would be the case? The case in court was to decide if her suspension was illegal or not if she was going to go on suspension, and she's gone on suspension and she stayed through it and she's back and you still prevent her from resuming. I mean, the impunity keeps getting better and better in quotes by the day. And this is a shame, for want of a better word. Like Peter said, it's an utter show of shame. It's disgraceful that for the giant of Africa, Big Brother Africa, this is where we are as a people, as a nation, and we keep screaming, our democracy is growing, it's getting better. And just to quickly correct the figures I gave earlier, according to Invictus Africa 2024, Nigeria ranked 46 out of 46 African countries that was reviewed for women's representation on the continent. That is telling. It is really telling of what we are as a people. So I do not have the exact a great response, but I think there was pressure in that space.
I mean, from our discussion this morning, and also the statistics you've reeled out, it will take a lot. Now, Chiamaka, as we inch towards 2027, a lot of women, ambitious women, who want to throw their hat into the political arena.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. And believe that, if I'm not mistaken, you said in order to achieve gender parity, with the pace at which we're going, it will take 162 years. I'm sure all of us on this screen right now will not be alive in 162 years to witness that happen naturally. What do we need to do as a people to hasten, to fast track this and hasten gender parity? Or do we need affirmative action? Or perhaps Paul Kagame? I don't know. You're the expert
well, just
in this
quickly
field.
correct that 1 to 2 years for political parity. Gender parity will take 1 to 2 years.
Political
and this
parity.
Is on a global scale.
Yeah, political
this is on
parity.
a global scale. Exactly. On a national scale, we need 300 years or more to get this done. What do we need to do? Nigeria is a country that is, for want of a better word, cursed with great policies. We have great policies in place. There's a national gender thing going on. We have affirmative action, a lot of things happening. The current gender bills that we're hopeful will go through at the National Assembly. But what we lack vehemently is political will to implement all of these great policies we have. So for me, I'm tired of policies. How about we start implementing the policies we have in place? We have great policies. We have great policies, and we know that as a people. We are a brilliant population. Policies are like rice and stew. It's easy for us to come up with the greatest policies, but we have a very hard time implementing those policies. So what we need is political will, the understanding that a society cannot function if half of it are treated as though they do not exist. Men and women are humans first before whatever sex or gender you identify as. And the sooner we start seeing ourselves as equals, partners on this journey, the better we'll get as a people. So for people aspiring to 2027, the harsh truth or the beautiful truth is that it is going to be another roller coaster. But it is your decision to choose to be a Natasha or, someone who's camper at the sound of get out of this room, and you will get a lot of that. I mean, some of us are not in politics yet, and we have a lot of get out of the room. You can't be here, you can't speak to me, I can't talk to you because you're female or you identify as female. It's going to be hard in 2027, and the journey has just begun. In fact, I think it's going to be more interesting than 2023 with artificial intelligence, with disinformation targeting women. The journey to 2027 is going to be one for the books, and we have to come prepared. I think one last thing I'm going to say is that women and women's group need to equip themselves with all the machineries, artilleries they need. And when I say machineries and artilleries, I don't mean guns or armored tankers. But this is a game, and we need to get our head in the game and play well.
Okay, I want to bring back Peter Aka here and ask the question that I had asked earlier. And what I had asked you earlier, Peter, was, what do you think changed? A few days ago, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan had sent her notice to the Senate, informing them of her decision to resume, seeing as the 6 months had elapsed. They didn't let her in. All of a sudden, they've done a video unsealing the National Assembly. So what do you think has changed between this time?
Has changed is that citizens decided to mobilize. One of the lessons you would also have taken home from the case of Senator Natasha is that it reinforces the knowledge that democracy thrives when citizens participate, and that impunity, injustice, corruption, and criminality in government will continue for as long as the people permit it. Once a majority of the people come together and say enough of this injustice and this level of illegality, it will be enough. Because as Chiamaka rightly said, that there are lots of policies, but the devil is in the detail when it comes to implementation. But I would beg to differ to say that the political will we have today is rather to entrench this system of lawlessness and this structure of criminality. And Nigerians must decide to put their feet on the ground and wake up to know that democracy does not exist in a vacuum. We are the collateral. And that is what people like Senator Natasha stand for. Remember that Senator Natasha, throughout these 6 months, it was not just Uhuru. There was a recall that was put in by the so-called, constituents headed by certain politicians. Do you know that it is easier to recall a senator in Kogi than to vote? The total votes that took Senator Natasha to the Senate were less than 70,000, according to the tribunal, finally. But do you know that within 2 days, INEC and the people who were trying to do the recall to supersede got almost 300,000 signatures or petitions to recall her, meaning it is easier to recall than to vote in Kogi. Remember that Senator Natasha's election, there was even an attack where the road to her own constituency was completely bulldozed down on the eve or the night to the elections. So it has been from one attack to the next. But because the people decided to come out in one voice, and they know the politicians, because the power of the people must always be greater than the people in power, Nigerians must know that this level of injustice and dysfunctionality brings every citizen to their knees as victims. And everybody must wake up and defend and stand for what is right. I commend the people of Kogi Central and Nigerians, and for everybody to know that it did not just come in a vacuum. And even when the notice that was sent saying she should resume, remember that there is also a caveat where they are saying that by the time they resume, the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Bamuru, will move a motion for Senator Natasha to apologize. So they are leaving a window for future mischief. And that is what Nigerians must mobilize to ensure that the resumption is without conditions. Go back and continue your job, represent your people. And moving forward, Nigerians must take the key to know that democracies thrive when citizens participate. When citizens mobilize and insist that we must follow the rule of law, the persons in power have no choice than to follow the rule of law and the will of the people.
Wow, very intense conversation that we've had here with Chiamaka Okafor and Peter Aka. Thank you so much, gentleman and lady, for joining us. We're hoping that the issues with the Senate and the ability for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to dispense her responsibilities as a representative of Kogi Central, that they've come to an end, at least for now, and should be allowed to do her duties. But thank you very much, gentleman and lady, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to break now, and when we come back, Breakfast Central continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and now we'll be talking about inclusion of women in governance. A powerful message was sent to the nation's leadership in Abuja as hundreds of women from various advocacy groups took to the streets in a peaceful rally, demanding stronger inclusion in governance through the passage of Reserved Seats Bill. The demonstration withdrew participation from civil society, gender equality advocates, and political activists, climaxed at the venue of the Constitutional Alteration Bill's National Public Hearing. News Central's Aisha Salihu has the details.
It was a scene of chants and conviction as women from across the country gathered in unity, marching for one common goal, the demand for equity in political representation. The procession made its way through to the National Public Hearing on Constitutional Alteration, where lawmakers and stakeholders gathered to deliberate on key legislative reforms. There, the women submitted a formal memorandum.
And we can agree that from the census we've conducted over the years, Nigerian women make up almost half of Nigeria's population. But when it comes to representation at the National Assembly, we don't have up to 5% representation. And at the state houses of assembly across the 36 states.
So we are hopeful that this time around, with the massive representation that we have and the awareness we have created over the last 365 days, we are really very hopeful that this time around, the Reserved Seats Bill, what we have requested for more women in Parliament.
My experience, we have had to support bills, advocate for gender provisions in bills. For instance, I pushed for the petroleum industry bill when it was Bill Now Act for the inclusion of gender components on that, but there was a pushback. Right now, we don't even have a consideration for women on that bill.
We are encouraging the members, to remember that we are not taking any seat from them. We are not in a competition.
The women say they have long been underrepresented, but it is now time to intensify calls for the urgent passage of constitutional amendment bills that will guarantee creation of 182 new seats reserved only for women to contest at both national and state houses of assembly. Advocates argue that without legal provisions for gender quotas, efforts to close this gap will remain symbolic and ineffective. As the National Assembly considers these bills, many are watching to see if this bold push by women will translate into real policy change. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Very important conversation to have there. 35% affirmative action was a key part of conversations, or has been a key part of conversations. And when women ask for representation, it's not necessarily because women think that it's a gender thing, but unfortunately, the system is stacked up in such a way that does not currently allow women to be able to assert the same level of influence that men already has, because there's been a systemic imbalance between politicians, female politicians and male politicians, tilted towards the favorable disposition of men.
The system is effectively working against
exactly
women, and it's just a proper, it's just nice that it was a way to segue from our conversation on the resumption of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. So let's hope this is the light of day, and we see what happens.
Nigeria signed the Beijing Declaration in 1995, saying that they are committing to gender equality in leadership and governance. It's one thing for you to sign that declaration. Yes, whilst our constitution does not currently mandate that. But there was a court ruling, I think sometime in, if I'm correct, in April 2022, Federal High Court in Abuja ordered the government to implement the 35% affirmative action.
And I don't think it's one of the items ongoing in this present constitutional review.
Well, that's another issue to have, another conversation to have.
Wonder where
even when you speak with female politicians, there are several issues that they raise. I remember interviewing a one-time female presidential candidate during the elections, and I'd asked her what are some of the stumbling blocks. Apart from how expensive these forms are, there was also the issue of the meetings. They would tell them at night they're having meetings at 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Ungodly hours.
Real ungodly hours. And then they would say to her, Madam, go and be with your family. You know, you cannot, you're a woman, you can't be a part of this meeting. So if you know that she can't be a part of that meeting, then why are you making the meetings at 2 a.m.?
Exactly. What happens?
Why can't you do it in the daytime? Is it witchcraft?
Are you
a bat?
Are you a vulture? Anyways, let's move on to other issues. The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, says that the federal government has made tremendous gains through its economic reforms. Adedeji, while speaking to State House correspondents in Abuja, also paid tribute to 4 colleagues who recently lost their lives in active service before presenting Nigeria's fiscal outlook. News Central's correspondent Betty Nanweli reports.
According to the chairman of the FIRS, debt servicing as of May 2023 has consumed 97% of national revenue. He says that President Bola Tinubu's bold steps, comprised of the removal of fuel subsidy, ending unrestrained ways and means financing, and unifying the nation's exchange rates, has helped stabilize the economy.
As at May 2023, and if you look at our debt to GDP, our revenue that we collect to debt payment is around 97% as it were then. And Mr. President took the bold decision that this cannot continue. I cannot continue to train driver or constructing the road when the only thing I have is P2.
He says that though the reforms are painful, they have begun yielding results. He also adds that government reserves can now cover 9 months of imports, tax to GDP risen to 13.5%, and the Federation account allocation has surged from 711 billion naira in May 2023 to 3.6 trillion naira in September 2025, a 411% increase.
If you look at oil, which is tax, you see the increase. But when you look at the total accretion to Federation as at May 2023 is 711 billion. That is what we made. As of September, which is last month, you see the total accretion is 3.6 trillion.
Adedeji clarifies the naira's depreciating performance, saying that it is driven by demand and supply, emphasizing that borrowing remains a normal budgetary tool for long-term infrastructure and not current expenditure. He also confirms that collections from non-oil taxes have grown significantly, hitting 1 trillion naira in September, while reforms in tax laws and automation are improving compliance.
If you see the bag, you will see non-oil. When in May, if you check, we have 150 billion from non-oil in May 2023.
The chairman concluded that Nigeria is transitioning from a fragile fiscal position to what he described as a Tesla mode economy by January 2026, with better foundations for job creation, education, and infrastructure. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Okay, there you have it from the executive chairman of FIRS. We're moving to a Tesla mode economy where things will be streamlined and will have a lot to benefit from it. But one thing I want to highlight from that press conference is the format, because there was a Q&A. It's called Meet the Press. It's an initiative of the presidential press team at Aso Villa. It's a weekly initiative. They bring a policy that the head of a government agency to, sort of talk to Nigerians and also give an update on activities of their ministry or parastatal, and then they take questions from journalists, which I think it speaks to accountability and also gives Nigerians the ability to question some of these policies, to probe further, to have an understanding, and also give Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, the ways and means to understand the intricacies of government and the rationale behind some of these government policies, and a deeper explanation from the horse's mouth itself and the policy makers. So fantastic initiative, Meet the Press, and we hope to see more of this.
We certainly hope to see more of this. But we have more conversations this morning. Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, Kayode Ekpetokun, says that more than 4,000 suspects have been arrested for various crimes in recent months, with over 1,000 kidnapped victims rescued alone in the last 7 weeks. The police chief says that high-impact operations conducted by the force in recent months have yielded tremendous results in the war against crime. Ekpetokun made this known while addressing strategic senior officers of the force, saying that the successes were achieved through coordinated responses, stronger supervision at flashpoints, and improved interagency collaboration. He warned officers to shun being used to enforce private interests in civil disputes, notably in land matters, saying that such acts erode public trust and will attract strict disciplinary action. Let's listen.
Between 31st July and today, we arrested a total of 4,383 suspects across country for various offenses. This included 481 armed robbery suspects, 260 kidnappers, 371 for murder or culpable homicide, and 161 for unlawful possession of firearms. We also arrested 322 suspected rapists, 375 cultists, and 2,413 others for various serious crimes. Officers have no business escorting parties for land recovery, disrupting legally existing occupations, or meddling in civil claims without a demonstrable criminal element. Every such incident erodes the neutrality of the force and opens us up to disrepute.
And yes, a very important statement to make there. I just wanted to re-highlight his position that the police should not be used as a means to settle civil disputes.
To recover land. And things like that, and things that bring the Nigerian police disrepute, to wash cars,
carry handbags to the car,
to hold money when young billionaires are spraying, to be Exactly.
Or doing content with content
to
creators.
do content for Chinese men that are sharing money.
5,000 naira to be precise.
So, yeah,
Anyway.
they have a lot of work to do. But I'm glad the IG has read them the Riot Act. So let them act accordingly.
Indeed. Anyway, we're going to break now, and when we return, we have breakfast headlines. Stay with us. The Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced the monetary policy rate by 50 basis points, bringing it down to 27%. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardozo said the move reflects steady disinflation over the past 5 months and aims to support economic growth. The Apex Bank also slashed the cash reserve ratio for commercial banks to 45%, while keeping merchant banks' CRR at 16%. A new 75% reserve requirement has been introduced for non-TSA public sector deposits to better manage liquidity. Despite these changes, the liquidity ratio remains at 30% as the CBN maintains a cautious stance on financial stability. Nigeria's Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Toga has reaffirmed Africa's commitment to a unified future. The minister also called for at least 2 permanent seats for Africa at the United Nations Security Council, pushing for greater continental representation globally. Speaking at the 80th edition of the United Nations General Assembly, Toga emphasized that greater African representation is crucial for fair and effective decision-making in international affairs.
It's the right time, and Africa is the only continent that has a common position. There's a common African position, CAP, and there's the Ezulwini consensus, there's the CERT declaration. We agree that there should be 2 permanent seats, and if it's going to be expanded even further, then Africa should get more seats, even if they're not permanent. So we're optimistic. Well, the largest country on the continent, the one that is going to be the 3rd largest in the next 25 years, it's a no-brainer. It's Nigeria.
And now to some sad news. Tragedy struck in Lagos as a 40-foot container-laden truck overturned and crushed a police officer and a female passenger to death. The truck reportedly lost control while making a dangerous turn and landed on a tricycle carrying 4 passengers at the Ijora Causeway. 2 others, including the tricycle operator, sustained injuries and were rushed to Jimson Hospital. Director of Public Affairs and Enlightenment of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, Adebayo Taufik, in a statement said the bodies of the deceased have been taken to the mortuary as investigations into the accident continue. The Lagos State Police Command says it will arraign NURTW leader Shamsuddin Adio, also known as Chameleon, on Friday over the alleged killing of a dispatch rider. Adio was arrested after reportedly attacking the rider during a scuffle on Lagos Island following a minor vehicle scratch incident. Eyewitnesses say the victim was beaten with a helmet and fists until he collapsed and later died in hospital. Police confirmed Adio is currently in custody at the State CID in Panti, Yaba. Lawmakers have condemned the act, with the Lagos Assembly vowing that justice will be served to set an example. Deadly violence has erupted again in Cross River State as the communal conflict between Ochon and Alessin communities intensifies. Several people, including a commercial driver, were killed when angry youths blocked the Ikom-Ugep highway and attacked passing vehicles. Homes have been burned, farms destroyed, and hundreds displaced, with many Ochon residents reportedly becoming refugees. Despite the deployment of military personnel to the area, fresh attacks and killings continue to be reported. Observers are calling on the state government to take decisive action before the violence spirals further out of control. And now to East Africa, where officers are facing another probe over the death of a man in custody in Kenya, barely 3 months after a similar case sparked protests. The East African nation faces long-standing allegations of police brutality, with the Independent Policing Oversight Authority saying in June that 18 people died in custody over a 4-month period this year. In the latest case, Simon Warui, 26, was arrested in capital Nairobi and transferred almost 500 kilometers to the coastal town of Mombasa, where he was later found dead at a police station. According to IPOA, which said it had begun collecting evidence, Warui died on September 17th from injuries the autopsy report described as consistent with a fall from a height. A federal jury has convicted 59-year-old Ryan Ruth of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump at his Florida golf course last year. Ruth, who represented himself in court, was found guilty on all charges, including attempted assassination and firearms offenses. He appeared to stab himself with a pen after the verdict was read and had to be restrained by marshals. Trump praised the prosecutors for the conviction, calling Ruth an evil man with an evil intention. He faces life in prison when he is sentenced on December 18th. And that's the conclusion of all that we have for Breakfast Headlines. We'll now continue with Breakfast Central. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and it's time for us to review the newspaper front pages. Join us for analysis is a chartered accountant and one of the best newspaper analysts in the country, and general analyst, Mr. Accountant Sheson Okwade. Yes, we live in a country of that people love their titles, so honor must be given.
Okay, maybe if you want to make that, don't just make it accountant. Just say chartered accountant Olusegun Okwade.
Exactly.
Do you have ICANN?
How can you be chartered if you didn't?
Did you write your ICANN by yourself?
By the grace of God, and you can't write for person in ICANN though. That story that is trending.
You don't believe it?
It can't happen. It can't happen.
That's why she was caught now.
No.
Okay, so
explain.
Run us through the process.
The process is you have people who registered for the exam.
Okay.
There are pictures for them to check. So if you try to maneuver your way, the round check that they would do would definitely bring you up, because we've even moved to the level of actually checking some of these things with, is it barcode that they actually do? And I'm sure that was what exposed that person. ICANN is not that loose that you can have anybody just do anything that they want. See, when they call you chartered accountant, we are known for integrity and accuracy.
What of this one that now chartered someone to write the exam for her?
That's why she was caught.
No. That's why you can't beat the system. It's difficult to get on. You know, people will make attempt. It's just like when you have rules in the country.
Into the hall?
No, you know, initially everybody will go in. I'm sure it's on the first round of check. That would definitely, so you can't beat that system when it comes to it. I'm proud. I've been chartered accountant now since 2010. A past chairman of a district, and we pride ourselves with integrity and accuracy. So,
Olive, after all these accolades, I don't want you to feel bad. So let me give you your own accolade. Lawyer, barrister, journalist, Oliver Modi.
Thank you so much, my dear friend. Thank you so much, my dear friend. Seeing as I have the floor, I shall now begin the newspaper front pages, starting with any first paper that our director decides to start with. So let's start with anyone.
Director, please hit us. DJ, track one.
Director, please give us newspaper now. Thank you. The Punch newspaper. 8.41 trillion naira oil theft drains economy, fuels investors' doubt. It feels like we see one day progress, another day regression.
If it's one day regression, it
should be to be good.
So like 1 year regression.
Experts fault lack of arrest, prosecution in 4 years, I-0 oil thefts. Regulator hails lowest losses in 16 years amid reserve.
Is this not a contradiction?
It's a real contradiction. So
the headline is saying 8.41 trillion, maybe historically. And now they're saying regulator hails the lowest losses. In
so maybe what they are trying to say is, Benga, I think it's just 8.41 trillion. In the past 60 years, they do usually thief more than this.
Exactly.
So we should be even grateful.
No, she's a lawyer. That's the interpretation.
No, but that's
the interpretation of it.
The newspaper was being clever by putting this alarmist headline. So that it's a clickbait, so people would, the rider, and then the rider tells you the story. But you would have, I mean, for those that are drawn to bad news, they will buy the news. Oh, give me that. But then when they open the papers, they realize...
You not get to know that that's just the tip of the iceberg of
historic perspective. But, I mean, because we're meeting OPEC quoted now, and we're even producing enough, we're refining enough to export to the United States of America. So kudos to Nigeria, and congratulations to us on this.
Okay, still looking at the front pages of the paper. Strike. I'm hearing sound of rain. My heart is cutting.
Sorry, Islander. You're welcome to the state of aquatic splendor for a reason. It's great Lagos.
Aquatic splendor for a reason.
It wasn't an interesting thing yesterday.
No, it wasn't. And I hope that made it to the front pages of some of the papers because it's very, very important. Strike. Sanu Nasu extend ultimatum. Arms racketeering. 3 soldiers court-martialed, jailed for life. Olubadan. Oyo restricts traffic for Ladoja's coronation. Lagos cop, woman killed as container crushes tricycle.
Terrible news.
Very sad. Pengerson, Lupeng rejects government's plan to sell assets. Kilelei. We'll come back to that again. Natasha resumes the Senate, calls Akpabio dictator. 411% revenue rise won't stop federal government borrowing, according to FIRS. And then we also have CBN lowers interest rates, OPS demands credit relief. Final story. 20 billion naira library fundraiser, not for 2027.
Now, Olive, you left out a big story, and they say pictures paint 1,000 words.
I can see a picture here.
That's the headline.
The Honorable FCT Minister, his wife, and his children, as his son is being welcomed, my junior at the bar, being welcomed to the bar. We can see left to right.
And FCT Minister was part of the body of benchers yesterday. Congratulations to his son. It's a new wig in the family.
The latest wig. Mama wig, Papa wig, and now baby wig has joined the family. Congratulations to him. Okay, let's start with the story of the National Library. I don't know if you see an issue with it. We've seen mixed reactions. There are those who have applauded it. Down the face of it is philanthropic. She said that instead of doing newspaper shout-outs and sending cards and gifts, you should contribute to the National Library in Abuja. However, the argument has been, is it the responsibility of private individuals to fund a public project? Also, were there not previous budgetary allocations for this National Library? But let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, well, starting from where you actually put it up, I believe for the National Library, there should be an allocation to actually get some of those things done by the government. But be it as it may, if you have a philanthrope like the First Lady trying to galvanize resources together to put those things in place, it's really not a bad thing as far as I'm concerned.
Is it not an indictment on us that you have to outsource this to private individuals? The whole country, as a country with the status of Nigeria, giant of Africa, cannot build a national library. It has to take the First Lady's birthday to do this. Why do you have a Ministry of Education?
It's not a slap. It's not a slap. As far as I'm concerned, most of the people in civil service, I'm sure you know, even the politicians, they failed us. And if we take them to build this for us and enjoy it, the most important thing is provide the infrastructure for us. How it comes, a lot of us don't want to know how it is, because majority of the funds that are meant for this thing goes to individual eyes because we have a failure in our system to track those things out.
So who's going to fix the Abuja National Stadium and Lagos National Stadium?
Senator
Possibly Akpoti can, on his own birthday, can decide.
Okay.
Remember the one he did. Remember the one he did for us when he had his birthday in Akwa Ibom.
Okay.
Yeah, so he can decide to make his just do giveaway. What we want as a country is, if the government cannot do it as private individual. So what we want is to provide infrastructure
through giveaways.
Well, that's another theory that we need to study and get those things. But truth be told, a lot of people critique this act of saying he's trying to raise funds. If they don't give the funds towards this library, people that will still contribute will do that contribution.
I'm with you 100%.
So let him give the money, use it to build it. The
library will be built.
Yeah.
And it will be befitting.
Yeah.
But how about going through, how about using proper channels and doing things properly? Because
if the proper channels, Benga, it's only National Library you're talking about. The infrastructure we've asked in educational sector, we've not gotten it. Health sector, we've not gotten it. You read the screaming headline about our oil stuff is actually being stolen. Our refinery is not functioning. So
there are also libraries in other states. Okay, maybe this would be a challenge to other first ladies.
At least to get something.
Fix the libraries in your state.
At least prioritize, because the reason there will be prioritize education when you build up the library. But a lot of people have forgotten that the physical structure no longer functions. A lot of people now have their library on their phone and settle at home to do something.
And I wonder why private individuals are going. We've seen a lot of cafe culture, and I'm sure all of you've seen this in Lagos. Co-working spaces where people go in with their
co-working spaces,
laptops and that. It's a good investment, but they need to expand it to library type level.
That's part of what I'm saying.
Some of the investment, it's almost like every building you see is hotels. What is it with hotels and nightclubs, especially in this Lagos? No, please make me understand. Maybe I should also invest. There's one money. It's like there's money there.
There is money there.
There is now. That's why an average person will tell you that. Don't complain that there is no money in this country.
I went to
you are not the majority. You are a daddy. Right now, you are daddy alone. You just have a new baby.
That's you. You are just thinking of how to.
Yeah, exactly.
Anywhere you go to, have you ever gone? Everywhere I go, like every Friday, there must be traffic. Where you have all this club.
Do you know why?
Why?
After working,
You're right, my sister. This is why I love you so much.
She balanced the whole thing. But whichever way they were actually, it's not right for individuals to actually be funding that. But we have a failure in our system where government has failed in their responsibility. So, because the next thing that will happen is after his exit, they will name the place after First Lady. And it will be there as monumental thing for them to carry on. But we need a library, and not just those physical structure. We need infrastructure where people can actually, work on their own independently, have access to some of these things, because physical structure does not speak volume any longer. Like you said, most offices, people that make cool millions now, they work from home. They don't have physical structure to do
remote work.
Remote work. That's what actually gives a lot of people basic thing for them to.
I really can't wait for this library to be
over.
And
I'm going to go, and when I write
my book, I'll read. What book are you going to read?
I'm going to write my own book and put it there.
Okay, nice. Me, I'm going to go there to read Queen Premier. I need to brush in my level of English. Yes, okay. I go there. She go there. There she goes. She didn't there.
If you to go off, it is. Is he up? Is he up?
You went to
we go up we go.
Yes.
Did you read that thing?
I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
It was so helpful for us back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, strike. SANU and NASU have extended their ultimatum. I don't know if that's a good news. Maybe that's indicative of the fact that the government is not paying attention to them.
No, there's definitely a discussion for them to have
and they're giving them the benefit of doubt.
Yeah, to say, okay, let's give this a chance.
They've extended it by 2 weeks. In the joint letter signed by SANU President Mohammed Ibrahim, the unions decried the unjust disbursement of the earned allowances to staff of universities, non-payment of outstanding allowances, among others. So in a fresh letter addressed to chapters of the nationwide yesterday, Tuesday, the leadership of the union noted that the decision to extend the ultimatum followed a meeting with the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Abel Eniton, on Friday, September 19th. the leadership of Jack of Nassau and Sanu, arising from a meeting held on Monday, 22nd September, decided to keep you updated on the recent status of our agitations forwarded for resolution to the federal government. So yes, like you mentioned, the conversation is still ongoing.
It's part of what we're saying. Look at our education sector. People will now go on strike. You send back the children home and put pressure on the parents to start, galvanizing for how to take care of them. Can we get system worked in this country? Most especially our economy, our education, our medical system, that things can be. Because I would not want a situation where we have that horrible experience where people stay at home for close to a year, if not more than. And you can imagine different things that happen within those periods, which learning is not. But that's why a lot of people are actually resorting to online classes these days so that they can have their correspondence courses done, maybe with a school outside the shore of this country. At least if you can't be there, have your correspondence courses done and you win. At least that's part of what our forefathers did. A lot of them that you see their name written against this thing. Some of them didn't travel out. They did correspondence courses all the way here. And then we are not even talking of having this kind of, they were doing, postal stuff where they would send letter to them, send all those things. And they were actually achieving the, not now that we have technology as the rider of the whole thing. Even most secondary school these days, I learned you now do some remote reading from home. There are days to come to school because the operating cost of running a school premises is really not bearable. So they push those expenses just the same way you work from home, you read from home.
Just the way banks are reducing brick and mortar and looking at fintech for banking.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at the most effective and cheapest ways to achieve
to run their businesses.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to take another story?
Yeah, there's arms racketeering, 3 soldiers court-martialed, jailed for life. I mean, for you to be a member of the Nigerian Armed Forces, you would have gone through some level of rigorous training and ethics, and this is just, it's really wrong. In the height of insurgency, banditry, and what we're seeing, to have members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, soldiers, involved in arms racketeering, it's terrible.
A lot of people have actually accused them that they are still the brain behind the problem we're having when it comes to insecurity. There are some bad eggs among them that, you see, when you celebrate money, you allow money to take right of everything that you want to do to oppress and show people. You definitely compromise ethics. You will not even look the line of values that you forget even the confidentiality that you signed and the oath of allegiance that you pledge even to the country. A lot of things will go wrong. As immediately you start thinking about money, and that's why we're saying. So if the armed forces, we are having funny elements like this in the armed forces, to tell you that it's still a long way for us to end this terrorism, this banditry, because from what people do mention, even they give information even to the people that actually carry out this thing because of this little gain that they get from it.
Now let's move to the Vanguard.
Actually, I think you should do Daily Times, though.
Okay.
Let's do Daily Times instead. Because...
Go ahead. You have the floor.
Tinubu, you are a one-term president. You leave in 2027.
Is this a prophecy or an order
or
a political
or a promise?
strategy or a threat?
All join.
A political strategy.
All join.
Okay. But let's talk about it, though. Do you have any feedback on that?
Well, it's not in their hands. It's in the hands of the populace to decide whether is a one-time president. All we ask them to do is, as we are advancing towards 2027, they should do more objective criticism in such a way to place them, in that right pedestal, just the same way APC did to PDP. I will always give kudos to Lai Mohammed. Then he was all out for PDP at every move that they made. And we saw that giving an edge when they came with the change mantra, in 2015 to say, we are offering you change from what you used to have before. Everybody bought into it. We never asked, what is the change mantra? Is it positive or negative? But we saw the change and we are all in it today. So I think ADC should do more of, that objective criticism and putting themselves before the people to know that possibly there will be an alternative in 2027. But if not, it's not about what you write on the paper or what comes out of your mouth. It's about the strategy that you're able to put in place to actually win the election.
Okay.
Henderson and Nupeng are in the news for another reason, apart from dragging and fighting and Dangote. So, but they're saying that the plans for NNPC to sell its joint venture assets will make NNPC bankrupt and hurt the economy. What's your take on this story?
Sincerely speaking, I think Pengasson, NNP, a lot of people will say they are actually protecting the interest of the people. But I have seen, possibly because I'm a business person, that all these so-called refinery and asset of NNPC that is wasting out there, deteriorating on daily basis because they are not put to use. Can we engage? We've said PPP is the way to go. Engage people who are in business, who understand the business, who can put down their money to turn around. We've been doing turnaround maintenance on all the assets of the government for years, rolling into trillions of naira. And we are not getting value for it. And we are saying, don't dispose it. I think they are the one that is actually possibly aiding the leader, aiding the politician to do the right thing. Give it, you can imagine if 3 or 4 of these refineries are bidded for by private owners, just like Dangote did. And we have competition, 4 of them start working and they start competing with one another. It's just like the miracle we saw with telecoms. Remember when we bought our phone?
Yeah.
It was pretty difficult. A lot of them were actually telling
telecoms
us.
is even apple and oranges. Let's compare with something that has been done in the industry, the NNNG model. You hardly hear anybody complain about NNNG. It's running smoothly. Everybody is declaring their profits. It's fine. Operations.
So I feel government can have little stake in it, but
they should not be running business.
They should not. We've said it that they are not.
Government should have no business in
doing business. So just leave it in the hands of those people. Create the enabling environment and the policy for those people to run. Then we can see the dividend of all these things.
Okay, let's hear from Osas.
Osas from PH City.
Good morning, Osas.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Benga.
Good morning. Your voice is pretty low, so please, if you can speak up, we'll appreciate that.
Good morning, Mr. Seston. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning,
Osas.
Yes, thank you. I want to make a comment regarding the flood in Lagos. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I want to make a comment regarding that. I think I want to make a suggestion to the Lagos State government. What they should do is regarding the building in Lagos. In every 600 square meters of land that will be developed, they should make sure that 200 square meters is left out as a green area. Because most houses on the island, they are either interlocked, stamped, or concrete floor. So every water, every flood in every compound is being channeled out. There is no natural ground to suck this water. So the government of Lagos State should come up with a law that if you are buying land, like say 600 square meters of land in Lagos, and you want to develop it, you must leave 200 square meters for green area. If you are buying a 1,000 square meters, you must leave 300 square meters for green area. So by so doing, you now create a space where water can naturally soak into the ground. But we don't have that on the island. That is why you see most time when it rains, all the whole water tend to come out on the road because they don't have the natural soil where they can go down. So that is the problem. It's a suggestion to the Lagos State government.
All right.
Thank you.
Brilliant suggestion.
Thank you very much.
I mean, it's an initiative they can adopt going forward because most of the areas
compounds
are
already
built up.
And then you know what's even worse? Every compound now has that electric pumper that you're using to eject water from your compound.
Yeah.
So all of us are neighbors.
Oh, wow. They've started doing that.
No, since now. You just put the machine inside, so it's pumping the water out. So I'm pumping out of my compound. You are pumping out of your compound. You are pumping. Everything will now meet in the street.
By the way.
Yesterday, it was not even island. I was at Lawansi yesterday to do an assignment, and the rain caught me there in the afternoon. Heavy downpour from Idiaraba down before I got to Uduaghan. I was swimming. Thank God I actually went with the small car. Oh my God.
So, I mean, I thought those of us on this side of town were...
No, we're not. That one thing yesterday was not from beginning to the end.
So is it still a drainage problem or the system is over?
Well, I don't know what the Ministry of Environment will come out to do. We've seen the commissioner go all out, clear drainages and the like. But still, that seems not to be working. What I experienced in Uduaghan Lawansin yesterday was really terrible. At the time, we had to just wait. But I just asked myself, now one day they came out, enter this thing and go.
But it's very risky. Your mechanic would...
Yeah, well, I just needed to catch up with an appointment yesterday, so I took the risk, and thank God it's fine. But the car is at home.
So after Lawansin, you got to Uduaghan?
Yeah, Uduaghan was... Okay, I didn't go through Uduaghan. I did a bypass to come out at Empire and find my way out. No, I got him now.
No,
because if you have passed through Uduaghan, you would have known your story.
I knew it. I even thought you were going to make reference to Uduaghan Bashita. I was like, oh no, I think that doesn't
I'm glad your story ended well and your car wasn't damaged. But I mean, this is serious.
But we just need to, because as
it's currently raining. And
because
we use high-tech sensitive microphones, I could pick up Olive's heartbeat. She lives on the island and is doing bing because of what the battle she has.
I've already gone to my estate group to go and ask them, guys, is it raining yet on the island? Because I don't know that I want to do it.
Lagosians shouldn't live like this. It's
but I think we should
causes
just
a lot of anxiety.
We should even talk to Lagosians too. This idea of pouring dirt, a lot of people are still doing it. You know, they just pour those things into drainages, go and block certain area, thinking that water is assisting you to put. You are creating problem not only for you, it might even be your people that is staying at the other end. We should follow the set down rules by Lagos State government. PSP are actually there for you to dispose some of these debts and let them do the day, and don't patronize those truck people that just push this debt somewhere. It's part of the problem I consider as a problem in the country.
All right. We have a call coming in from Abulegba. Good morning. Thank you very much for calling.
I thought Godwin was in New York. Oh, sorry, another Godwin. Godwin from Abulegba.
Godwin from Abulegba. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Hope your area isn't flooded. Godwin, we're struggling to hear you. Can you please speak up?
Okay. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Well, good morning to you all.
Good morning, Godwin.
Good morning. Yes,
sorry, Godwin.
Okay, my pushback is on the sale of
the refineries.
Yes.
Okay.
And the pushback by the union.
Okay.
You see, some of the people in government, yes, are the ones making these unions to push back because of the corruption in oil and gas industry.
Right.
It's a very huge scam that is, we are all suffering. All right? They know quite right that if those refineries, the government invest and private companies come in, now there are lots of transparency, and you and I will start getting fuel at a very good rate. It's just like a farmer who harvests his yams and sells the yam to his own children at the cost of obtainable in the market. You are not a good father. You see, this is what is happening in this country. Those unions are being used by people in government to push government not to divest from those refineries. I can bet you, take my word to the bank.
All right.
It's in their vested interest that
yes, that are pushing against it.
Of course, a lot of people have said it that the union at times are being used. When those that are using them fail them, they run back to with the populace that they are actually suffering. Because in our right thinking senses, a lot of people have said it. Don't forget during, I think was it Yaradua or Obasanjo, they sold out some of these things and it was reverted back. And since that time till now, there is always allocation for turnaround maintenance without producing just 1 liter of, and that will not happen with a private person.
It's why
and you can imagine what they will put, the pressure they will even put on the staff.
It's why we've been calling for, or a number of people have been calling for back then it was unbundling of the NNPC. At some point it was like how much comes into our federal reserves every month, into our federal accounts. How many liters are we selling? It felt like there was so much unclarity. There
Zero audit.
Exactly. We couldn't see a lot. And even with the fact that we've just had the former NNPC MD replaced with Bayo Julari, many have asked, why hasn't there been an investigation?
It's
into
ongoing.
Milikiari? Is there going to be an actual investigation, or is all
the EFCC invited him for questioning? Let's exercise.
They grilled him for.
They grilled him. Yeah, that's the word.
Yes, that's the word they used.
Okay, so are we expecting feedback from that?
The previous
It's
ones
just going to
before,
fly.
the previous ones before now that they've grilled.
When we have the opportunity
What
to
about
talk to the
White Lion?
spokesperson at the EFCC.
White Lion.
It's still in court.
Okay.
Its case was adjourned the last time.
I
I saw
see.
an interesting headline here.
All
I
right,
don't
let's
know
see the
if
next
we
headline.
should be
Is it on the
selling-
Vanguard newspaper?
On
or
the Daily Times.
The Daily
Just
Times.
quickly, before we move to the next paper.
Okay.
If it's worthy of celebration or...
I saw it too. Is it Nigeria to host first African
Yes,
road crash
because,
victims
the
conference?
other day we were talking of Ballon d'Or. Oh, sorry, Ballon d'Or. Hosting Ballon d'Or, World Cup, E1 racing, F1, World Cup, things like that, Commonwealth, Heads of Government Summit. But why do we now want to host the maiden edition
of
the first African
Road Crash Victims Conference? I don't understand what this is meant to achieve.
Maybe we have experience in a lot of road crashes.
And
so we
majority
want
of the accidents that we've had that have been fatal are actually road accidents. If you see the numbers, they are alarming.
very avoidable.
What Nigerians want is just proper working roads.
So they will discuss these issues at this conference. But let me give you details,
Okay. Please give us the details.
of the conference. Nigeria is set to host the maiden International Road Crash Victims, it's too long, Victims Africa Conference in November, aiming to give a stronger voice to the victims of road traffic crashes and their families. The developments was announced in Abuja. Court Marshal FRSC Shehu Mohammed noted that IRCVAC would focus on the plight of road traffic accident crashes victims across the continent, adding that previous global road accident and crash injury conferences had often emphasized higher income countries. I believe the essence of this conference is to bring technocrats, professionals, and experts in road accidents and crash injuries, road transport, traffic and safety management, and administrators from all over the world to showcase our country, our continent, and our city of Abuja.
Yeah, well, the conference is, like I said, I'm sure it's being championed by a Nigerian who just brought out this innovation and want to put us on the... But can we galvanize this to just allow government to give us good roads?
To put pressure, mount pressure on the government.
If you are
to give us good roads.
Yes, just yesterday, somebody missed an accident, and you will not blame the person. The guy was driving, and you will see that pothole. He did not sight that thing on time, and he swerved. If the other guy coming from the other direction was not that careful, they would just see. I asked myself the question, if the road was smooth, would that guy want to swerve?
Roads are a huge contributor.
It's a contributing factor to this accident that we're experiencing.
FRSC,
Now
they're
that we are
also
having
fighting to bear arms. They want to carry gun.
We've said that even as a special marshal person. I've said it that a special marshal to say we don't need that. All we need is just discipline on the roads and fix some of those.
Let's pause for a bit. We have Andy calling from Lagos. Good morning, Andy. Please go ahead with your comment. Andy, your audio is really low.
Andy, could you speak up, please?
All right.
Yes, go ahead and speak.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yes, so my argument for FRSC bearing arms is they will be able to, it will serve as a deterrent to Agberos and those bus drivers that...
Are you in support of it?
My note to that.
I'm highly against it.
I'm against it. Rather than carrying that gun, carry a technology that can actually drive and penalize without actually interfacing.
Okay.
Pick up the number. You have the database of the people that are actually committed the offense. You don't have any word. That's why I celebrate the Lagvis these days. All these are cameras in Lagos.
Before you know, you just get text message.
You just get
committed.
Bagam, your paper is due. Maybe you beat the traffic.
Committed
you just get
50K.
50K, 20K. By the time you want to go and carry out this, and they will give you stipulated period without anybody interfacing. So it's not about. I called Olive. Olive did not answer me. So as a law enforcement agency, I'll definitely get all that on the road. No, it's you and the technology. So everybody now, each time I'm driving, I tell my driver, are you aware that everywhere in Lagos has camera? Because once I hear Bagam, now your account.
I've been seeing the notice, the
CCTV.
signs, but have they put the cameras?
Okay, well, All I know is that I know one of the radio stations monitor traffic everywhere, and that on its own can be used to actually track activity
they probably
of
have
people
plans
there.
But please, they should prioritize the state of the roads before putting
Before you
cameras.
start putting all those
State of the roads, street lights.
It's
also.
key. It's key.
Okay, we are almost out of time, but let's see which other stories we can take. Ebola, still on the front page. Ebola, NCDC 6 Unified Emergency Response to check epidemic risks. Akpoti-Uduaghan returns, vows not to apologize to Senator Akpoti. Have we taken that story? No, we haven't. We'll come back to that one. CBN raises alarm as rising FAC payouts threaten price stability. Nigeria to host, okay, we've taken this one. Digital economy adds 7.37 trillion to Nigeria's GDP in Q2 2025. Now to the Vanguard. On the front page of the Vanguard, 14 banks fully meet new capital requirements according to CBN. CBN reduces interest rates to 27%. External reserves hit $43 billion. NECA demands reforms to ease cost of living crisis. CBN's easing of credit conditions, a welcome timely intervention according to CPPE. Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan storms Senate office, resumes duties. Defamation. Federal government alleges plot to scuttle Natasha's trial. Tinubu seeks reform of global financial architecture. Theory Kuka lists ethnicity others as impediments to federalism. And PFN to government. Fix economy and end corruption, empower citizens. Tinubu article in fierce battle for Buhari's northern bloc. Davido becomes Grammy voting member for 2026. Congratulations to OBO. Insecurity, nursing mom abducted, 3 soldiers jailed for selling arms to terrorists. Wow. And finally, Nupeng Pengasan kick against federal government's planned sale of oil, gas assets. I really hope that nursing mom is recovered.
In the other newspaper, they just mentioned the soldiers. That means we have to be watching out for nursing moms now.
No. The nursing mom was abducted.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, nursing mom abducted.
So
still talking about the challenges with insecurity.
That's why commas are very important.
And very important. If you look at the picture on the front page, it's a double celebration for the former governor of Rivers State as well as his predecessor. I like what they did
Triple celebration because they left out the current governor, Fubara's return to government house. So it should have. It's Christmas in Rivers State.
It's really
right
Christmas.
Now.
So on the left, we see Wike's son called to the bar. On the right, we see Amechi's son getting married. So congratulations to the people of Rivers State.
I hope both parties have exchanged congratulatory messages, even though they don't politically say eye to eye.
Back-to-back celebration.
The fact remains that a lot of these politicians, they may not see eye to eye.
But behind the scenes, dear friends. Let's talk about Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan as we get out of the studio, as quickly as you can.
Yeah, well, he's resuming back to duty from what you read. I've not heard the story. But you know my position before now is, can we consider the people Natasha is representing and give them a voice, you know, at the National Assembly? Because anyhow you want to look at it, she's not contributing what she's supposed to, except the National Assembly is telling us that most of the people that are there are just there just to sit down. So whether you are in or you are not in, things that needed to be done will be done. That means what a lot of us have been advocating for, that we should just cut this full-time politician work to part-time, where they will just sit and meet like every other business and let them face their businesses, might just be what we'll be resorting to. Because if somebody is out of space representing a senatorial district and she's not performing her responsibility, I don't know what they want to speak to that. But if they allow her, let's just move on. All we want is peace, give good governance to the people, and let's enjoy the dividend of democracy.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think this is where we sort of end today's conversation, and we hope that
I wanted him to comment in 60 seconds about this recapitalization of the banks. Are we likely to see any mergers or acquisition, as some banks are going to drop out, with some banks become microfinance banks, and with some banks become power banks?
Yeah, well, from what we have, that means 14 meeting the deadline, indicate that we'll be reducing from 20-something to 14 again. I've not checked the list. Possibly we might have new entrants into some of these things.
Especially our salary account bank. I need to check if it's among these.
If it's not there, if it's not there, then you step down to be a microfinance. They are not. They are not doing badly either. So, but the truth is, we need to strengthen the capitalization of the finance institution if this is the way to go. But I think we need to build more on our infrastructure, so that we can get the delivery that is expected in terms of this financial transaction for the businessmen and women.
Thank you so much, Accountant Sheson Okwade.
Who wrote his ICANN by himself and did not hire someone?
I need to always put that chartered accountant. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Always a pleasure speaking with you.
It's a pleasure to be with a lawyer.
To give us more time, especially when you're around. Maybe you can take 1 or 2 hours out of Just City.
Thank you to our online audience, Mokunye Chukwemeka and the rest, for joining us today and sharing their thoughts. I mean, so many comments here. It says, I thought they have curbed oil theft, just as foreign reserves keep getting to 42 billion USD every year. See how the people mobilize for Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. This is what we need to do to get Nigeria back on track. I hope I witnessed this in my lifetime. And we see nice one from the US. This is, of course, regarding the US potential threatening to ban corrupt politicians. Nice one from the US, but will it be carried out? Uloma was in the US recently after all he did before the last election. Thank you.
His children are there now.
And the US, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow. Jasiri continues or comes in right after we exit the show. I am Olive, MOD.
And I'm Benga Bora. Bye-bye.
Shout out to Johansson. Bye-bye.